Good afternoon, everyone. I want to do two things at the start. One that we wrongly don't do in our country, and secondly, something that you wrongly don't do in most of your countries. But let me start off by acknowledging that we are on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my deep respects to their elders who are emerging, past and present, and express my profound respect and support for the Voice, Treaty and Truth movement. Thank you. Thank you very much. Then, something that we do in South Africa, but that most of you in your countries don't do. When I said good afternoon, in South Africa, I would get a warm-hearted, full-throated response. So, good afternoon. Can't hear. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yay, how are you? Good. Has this not been a wonderful conference so far? Yes. Has it been informative? Yes. Has it been exciting? Yes. Has it been moving? Yes. Have you had tears in your eyes ever? Yes. I think so. It's been wonderful. So thank you very much for joining me in a proudly South African. So I have got a speech. I've got a speech, and it is an hour and 15 minutes long. And our handlers at the back said, throw away the speech and talk from your heart. And I want to do that because my speech will go up on a website, either here or elsewhere. But I want to tell you a story that is touching, that is informative, that is moving, and that explains a lot of what Jacob, in his very generous-hearted introduction, told you about me. It's the story of a young man, and his name was Simon Tseko Nkodi. Young black man. Yes, please. Thank you for already knowing about him. Simon was born in Soweto, which is the huge township alongside Johannesburg, which is where I live now, and where the Constitutional Court, where I spent the last years of my judicial life, is. He was born in 1957, and when he was a young man, younger than Jacob is now, in his 20s, he became a leader in a township south of Johannesburg, in the Sebokeng Vaal area, a leader in the uprising against the oppressive apartheid regime. And Simon led protests. He spoke at Protest March. Why do I speak about the apartheid regime? Partly because our history is important, but partly because most of us queer people, by which I include LGBTIQ+ people throughout the world, are living under oppressive, subordinative regimes. So we remember that. And Simon was arrested. There was a massive uprising on the 4th of September, Monday the 4th of September 1984. Simon was arrested and put on trial for his life. The prosecutors sought the death penalty against Simon for treason and for murder. He was accused number 13 in the most prominent show trial of the 1980s in the last 5 or 6 years of apartheid. Now, Simon had already been out, and I'd met him some years earlier as a proudly gay man. He'd fought struggles with his mother, who'd sent him to a traditional leader, a healer, to cure him of his queerness. Anyone here who has been through that conversion process? Yeah? Shamefully. Simon resisted it because he knew that his homosexuality was a profound part of his truth. But there were other truths with Simon, together with his homosexuality, was poverty and class oppression and race. And he said, I am a black man fighting against apartheid. I'm a poor person fighting against marginalization, exclusion, and under-resourcedness. And, not but, and I'm a proudly queer man. And that is what he told his fellow treason trialists. They were put in solitary confinement, no access to lawyers. I didn't see Simon. until he called for me on the first day of his appearance in the Pretoria High Court in 1985. But he was secluded with his fellow trialists who rejected him. They also rejected him for another reason that Jacob spoke about so movingly in his introduction to me a few minutes ago. They rejected him because he told them with courage that still humbles me that he was living with HIV. They said, "You're no longer going to take your turn dishing up food. You're no longer going to sleep in the cells with us. You must have a cell on your own." What did Simon do? He did not accept it. He fought against them. He said, "Shame upon you. I do not accept your ostracism, your marginalizing, your sidelining me." And extraordinarily, this group of 20 highly politically conscious, highly principled black South Africans began to embrace Simon. Simon was eventually released on bail, and towards the end of the 1980s, after 4 or 5 years on trial, he was acquitted of treason, of murder, and he entered life again as a fully free South African, but having experienced the lash of the apartheid legal system. He went on to organize the first Pride March on the African soil. I was honored to be part of that with Simon and with Beverly Ditsie and other leaders. Yes, please. Not for Beverly and for Simon. Now, the crucial thing that then happened is that we started negotiating, as Jacob has told you, for a transition. And Simon made it possible for us, the lawyers in suits, and I've been a lawyer in a suit, well, there's nothing wrong with being a lawyer in a suit. I haven't been brave enough to wear other kinds of drag, but this is a kind of drag. And Simon made it possible for us to argue that we should not include in the equality clause only the accepted conditions of gender, race, disability, age, culture, language. We should go further and include the condition that no one wants to talk about, and still, across most of the world, people don't want to talk about. In China and Russia, people are forced not to talk about it. They're punished for talking about it. Many parts of the Caucasus and Eastern Europe, and across my continent, Africa. But Simon spoke about it, and we managed to get it included, a world first, the express words in South Africa's constitution. Now, thank you. That, my point is that this was an achievement that Simon made possible. And why did he make it possible? That too is a lesson for us now. It's not an injunction to anyone, but it's an inspiration to all of us, because he confronted his fellows in the prison. He confronted the people closest to him. He told them, "I'm queer." He told them, "I'm living with HIV." Now, very sadly, Simon was started early on treatment. He started with monotherapy, progressed to duotherapy when it didn't work. By the time triple therapy became known in the mid-1990s, Simon was already failing in his health. And very sadly, Simon died on the 1st of December 1998. And his death was a mark for Zaki Ahmed to start the treatment action campaign. Thank you. Yes, please, for Zaki. And Zaki took on two monsters. He didn't know that the second monster was going to burden him. The first monster was pricing. He confronted the drug companies. He said, "It is morally intolerable for you to let 30 to 40 million Africans die simply because they are poor." And Simon laid the basis for the foundation of the treatment action campaign. It was at his funeral in December 1998 that Zaki announced the creation of the treatment action campaign, that there should be treatment for everyone. And that is still a slogan that should inspire us, not just for AIDS, not just for diabetes, for everything. There should be accessible treatment when medications are available. They should be made accessible to for everyone. So the second monster that Zaki confronted was our own president, President Thabo Mbeki, who very soon after he succeeded President Nelson Mandela revealed that the denialists, the AIDS denialists, had got to him, and that he was doubtful about whether there was a virus, whether if you tested for it, a test made any sense, whether the virus caused AIDS, and worst of all, he was doubtful that the antiretroviral medication, which by then I knew had saved my life, given me my life back, because I started antiretroviral treatment at the end of 1997, just more than 25 years ago. He was doubtful. He refused to make treatment available to our peoples in South Africa. And Zaki took him to court and won a court victory. For all of which, this is the story. And I want to bring it to a close. We have Simon to thank for a sexual orientation clause that was the first anywhere in the world. Our Constitution is not perfect. Living conditions for especially black lesbians are perilous, but the fact of our constitutional clause has changed the debate in Africa without any doubt, and we need to change it more. Simon laid the basis for that. In a way, Simon laid the basis for the wonderful judgment of Justice Leburu in Botswana, which was confirmed by the appeal court last year in Botswana. He laid the basis for the magnificent judgment of 24th of February by the Supreme Court of Kenya, which Kenyan actors, where are our Kenyan brothers and sisters, in the NGL HRC fought for. And Simon laid the basis for the Treatment Action Campaign. And what do we draw from this life story of tragedy, of courage, of poignancy, and of hope? We draw those lessons. We draw the lesson that if we are able, we should speak about who we are. We should speak about what makes us vulnerable. We should speak about what unites us with other people. We should gather power from those around us. We should claim that power. We should demand to be invested with that power. And that way, we go forward together in solidarity. Thank you so much.